Hey,
Hey, Darryl, what is happening?
welcome back to another Sunday.
Wow, Sunday already. Just like that. We
End
blink and it's over.
end of the year.
I think there should be like an end of the year show today. I think we should talk about like, I don't know, maybe to summarize the rest of the whole 2020 real estate market. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea, and considering all the articles this week were basically, summaries of the year or predictions for next year, it would be extraordinarily fitting that we follow suit. And I don't know that we have much of a choice because there's not too much else going on that we
Well,
haven't
there's
already
less news.
talked about. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
tell me what's going on.
Well, there's less news out there right now, right? There's
Oh, I thought you
the end
said
of the
lots of
year.
news.
People are people are working on getting away. They're trying to shut it down. So they don't want to start releasing new reports and bringing out new information and stuff, unless it involves the current situation. Most of the other stuff, like economic and monetary and stuff like that related to the housing market, they're just like maybe we should pick this up back in January coming up. Let's figure this out next year.
It seems to me, especially uh, from my perspective, that nobody has a fucking clue what they were talking about all year last year, especially us.
So
Nobody.
2020, this
Well,
whole year, the
e-
predictions.
everyone was wrong how Toronto real estate defied all expectations in 2020. Unless, of course, someone has video proof that they said that this thing was going to keep going and go gangbusters.
If only that exists.
Nobody could have seen this coming, could they?
Mm. If only if only they said that we had a housing supply issue, that there was not enough houses for people to live in, that we did not create enough supply when we had the opportunity, and there will be a shortfall in places for people to live, uh, allowing for competition to be able to flood the market and raise prices. Who would have said that?
Who would have said that? Now, I mean, we did come into it like that,
Okay.
right? We
But
came, we
but
came.
most people were saying like, geez, you're gonna have people going broke and everyone's gonna lose their houses, and by the end of 2020, we're all gonna be homeless. We're all gonna make that decision.
Should we take the survey?
Let's take the survey. Sure. What's the survey? No, no, no.
How many
So
homeless people do you know right now?
today, just I just talked to the people in my household, and everyone decided that they wanted to keep a roof over their head, and that they were willing to do what it takes in order to do so.
What does that mean? What does it take? What does it take for
At
your
my house,
family to do?
dishes and laundry.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. If they
So,
clean up their rooms, they can stay here.
so
It's fine.
in order though for dad to afford for them to still have a place, all they have to do is the dishes.
Well, then that side of the equation falls on me.
That's a significant part of the equation. I find.
Yeah. So far, I mean, I tried to work that out with the property tax collectors. I said, look, I said if one year I wanted to not work and just not pay these property taxes, but my son was going to do the dishes every single week, would that be some sort of compensation for those taxes? And they never got back to me.
That's
Strange.
shocking. Shocking that the
Strange.
government didn't get back to you. They're so
I know.
good at responding quickly normally.
Yeah. Well,
I'm still
didn't
waiting
work.
for
They
my
sent a
for
mental health unit over to the house, but I didn't hear back from the property tax people.
my house is a mental health clinic.
Yeah.
Officially or non-officially, it is the fact. So,
So
if we go
let's
back to
sure.
February, or let's say March, end of March, even early April, like the sky was falling. All hell was going to break loose, just like you're saying. And now what we have is like two totally, like, depending on where you stand in this real estate market or in the spectrum, like what business you're in, you could be like rolling in more dough than you've ever seen, or scrambling to try and figure out what the fuck you're gonna do next week to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If you can afford Christmas presents, like
Yep.
for some people it is like dire, and for some people it's just like,
Yep.
I'm making money, honey.
Yep. Yep. Saving money like they've never saved before at a rate that we haven't seen for decades. I think since like the early '80s, and nowhere to go to spend it. Right? Like that's really like the biggest part about all this. I think whenever we go into a recession, people start to really be cautious with their money, and they learn really, good valuable lessons. Like the people who came out of the Great Depression, were really fiscally responsible, for the rest of their lives, right? Like you had a really long time of making sure you stretched every dollar, or I guess penny at that point. Um,
That's a
and so now,
totally different world, though. Like that was a world where money actually meant something and had a value, and now it seems like money is very different now. Back when you're talking, there wasn't a mortgage. Like you had to save up $2,000 to buy your house,
hmm
right? You had to
yeah,
save pennies and dimes, like for real, to
hmm
save up to buy your house. And now it's like now people that are like teachers have $1 million houses, townhouses,
hmm
right?
I think mortgages started in around the Great Depression. I think that was one of the times that they were starting to figure out how to make loan processes work,
Yeah.
right? But again, you're right though. That's no one wanted one.
No, they
That was you
needed
were
one
poor.
because of it, because of the depression, right?
Yeah,
That's probably what started mortgages.
yeah. But
These people
we
are
we
fucked.
digress.
We're gonna fuck them even harder.
The recession is trying to get people right now back on track with saving and spending and doing all these things, and part of that equation is because there's nowhere to go, you have nowhere to spend the money. And so, a lot of the news articles that have been talking about is unleashing our savings and like what's going to happen in 2021, which maybe we can talk near the end of the show about, our predictions for next year. But if we just unleash the amount of money that people have saved, we could have one of the best economies we've ever had in 2021, pending, everything's back open and everything else as well. Right? Like there's just that much money sitting around right
Sure.
now to
Well,
deploy.
yeah, that's what the government is talking about as stimulus. Basically, is like preloaded. So they gave everybody the stimulus. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people were smart enough to save money in this time, and now they're like, the next round of stimulus will actually be coming from you. You're gonna put it
Yeah.
into the economy. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? It's what we need to do in order
What
to
the
be able to
hell?
keep things going. But
That's what it's for.
yeah, but I think that's going to take a while. I think that the sentiment is things are not going so well. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know if I'm going to have a job. I don't know if interest rates are going to go up. So I want to be careful, and I don't want to go crazy and maybe go on these lavish vacations or do something that I can't be responsible for. And I'm going to hang on to that money a little bit longer. So it's going to be a little bit of a slower economic recovery than I think everybody, or that what's possible. 2021 is not going to be the boom year that we need or that we're hoping for. It's going to be a slow, gradual increase back into, all right, maybe this thing is behind us. Because they keep releasing these stupid articles online. Like the negativity that people love to bring. Like you can have like like the most successful situation in any part of the world where they're battling the current situation really, really, really well, and then they'll just have like this one-off case or this one-off situation that now will make these headline news that it'll be like there's a new mutation in the like like why are we trying to scare people like that,
Did
like
you did you hear about that though? I didn't even want to bring that up, but
yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's like they're saying that just to get everybody, oh no, maybe we aren't going to be able to get through this, and it's like it's really sad that that's going to be making news probably for the next year, and that'll keep on keeping people's money in their pocket, unfortunately.
I don't know how much longer I can like stay in this house. It's I'm starting to go a little crazy. I can see
Yeah,
I can see the deterioration of most things, but like just I can see that the four of us are much more irritable than we've been in the past.
of course. Yeah.
Everybody's a little short these days.
Yep. You can't even go out for lunch just to, you know, breeze down the road to the
Y-
local bakery.
Yesterday we just went for a drive to go look at some nice houses up in Woodbridge.
Beautiful.
And we got harassed by the security guard on a on a private street. Anyways, but like why
Sir, this is not the basketball court, for the public. Can you please stop shooting hoops on my client's driveway?
we were
Oh,
just
sorry.
we were just driving around and the security
Sure.
guard just
Sure, you're playing a game of tennis in their backyard.
he was just well, we didn't have rackets, but there was plenty of tennis courts in this area for sure. Like this area was unreal. I don't even know where
Yeah.
we were.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But just to your point, like not only negative stuff about health issues, like you've got articles that are saying RBC's worst case for Canadian real estate is a price drop of nearly 30%.
I know. I know.
You have, Toronto prices, rent prices are down a whopping 20% since last year. I mean, it's true, but I hate this negativity. But you know what? We've talked about it before. I get it now. Like, just because of the analysis from our teeny tiny little show, like from the stats, there is
Mm-hmm.
such a gigantic difference in viewership if the title of the episode is negative. So
Mm-hmm. It's clickbait.
it's all well. No, it's attention grabbing, and that's what they're trying to do.
Same thing. Yeah.
Right?
So it's much different than so when print media was the way that everyone was getting their articles, then it's like, okay, well, we're going to have that headline on the front of the paper. But then everything else inside, we've already got them to pick up the paper. They're going to read it. So it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
But now, because of the way that websites are laid out and ads are laid out, and that, each thing needs to have their own headline, that's what sells. And then they're able to track it. So before, you could be the most honest journalist in the world, and you're making like the most clear cut headlines on titles of each one of your articles, but nobody's reading your articles, right?
Sure.
They know about it, they know about you, maybe they mention it, but really nobody reads your articles, and they don't really know. Now they get to see how many people have clicked the article.
Sure.
So now they got to go like, Darryl, that those articles you've been writing lately, I mean, your ratings are down big time. So I think what we're gonna have to do is let you go unless you can increase the amount of clicks you get. What would you do, Darryl, journalist?
Look, I already just tend to try and make, our thumbnails and our titles disastrous so that we get more views.
Yeah.
Because who wants less views?
Who wants less clicks,
Who
less
wants
ratings,
Yeah, and I mean
less income,
for the people writing these articles, it translates into dollars, right?
revenue? Absolutely.
So
That's it.
so I mean, how good or bad would things be if that were not the case? Would that change the economy? Would that change the market?
Yes.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm. It would change everything.
I think it would change everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Human behavior.
and I don't know how anybody isn't confused. I mean, so we have, the article I just mentioned, and then we have unexpected real estate boom may only be calm before the storm. So when I read this headline, I'm like, calm before the storm sounds like something's about to get really bad, right? And scary. Storms are not good.
Let's get into that.
Well, but what the article's actually talking about is, well, I guess if you're trying to make money in real estate or own real estate, this is a good storm because this is saying that things are going to get bananas next year.
Bananas.
Bananas. Because
Bananas. That is bananas. So, go on.
Cheap money, right? Low interest rates, more stimulus, guarantees of low interest rates till 2023.
Yep.
and a vaccine.
Yep.
These are all things that at least this gentleman is saying will lead to something even crazier than what we've seen this year.
I agree.
I agree also.
I agree. We'll get into our predictions for 2021, but let's go into what has happened this year. We started the year January, February, first 2 weeks of March. We couldn't keep up. Buyers just kept on coming out. Some of our listings were getting 200 plus appointments booked. We were getting 20, 30 offers,
Oh yeah.
hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking, way more
Condos
than any other sale in the neighborhood.
condos were selling out in the first 2 days.
Condos, 20 offers. You can't get it. You can't even get inside. If there's no offer date, it's like it's gone within seconds. If there is an offer date, you're competing with 20 different people,
Yeah.
right? The worst of the worst are selling for prices that had never sold for before. That's what we were seeing the first 2.5 months of this year.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. And then, I mean,
March 17th, state of emergency.
but death, right? Instant death, and then back to normal.
Well, March 17th, let's not jump ahead. March 17th came and we saw basically everybody ordered to be inside. Many condos were telling us no more showings. People were taking their homes off the market. Buyers disappeared. It literally went from 100 back down to zero.
Yeah.
So it took until the end of May for stage 2 of the reopening, or stage 1, whatever, the reopening to start happening.
Did we start
then
at stage 2?
We started stage 2 or started stage 1, whatever it
I
was.
think probably makes sense that we started stage 1. But
Probably started 8.1, whatever. So we went into the reopening, but I'm not sure exactly when things started to pick up again, if it was stage 1 or stage 2. But either way, we started having the reopening again, and then people started to realize that they were cramped in their condos, that they didn't have a big enough house, that they wanted a pool, and that the pool companies were already booked up, that they wanted a main floor office, that they shouldn't have done open concept living space. All these people had different reasons to move, and they started to come out of the woodwork.
sure. But I don't think it take till May before that really started happening? Didn't
End of May. And
Yeah?
the last week of May is when I first started. So I remember working with some buyers, and we got this great property. We sold the first week of June, and we bought the last week of May. And we were able to go in, negotiate a good price, and the guy didn't have an offer date. We bought it like the first day on the market. And I remember saying to them, I said, he doesn't know, this agent doesn't know that things have reopened up. But because we had so many different listings at that time, we started seeing crazy spikes in activity again. We were just, our finger was on the pulse. So I had this sort of inside information on the market where I was like, wow, I'm like, this guy doesn't have an offer date on this property. So we bought it right away. Then we went and put our house on the market, and that was the very first listing that I had. That was just incredible. And I think that one, I don't think we hit 200. The people left for a week. They had to go. They couldn't get out. They couldn't get back into their house from 9 a.m. till like 8:30 p.m. every single day. I think it was 165 showings, something like that.
Wow.
And it sold for way more than anything else I'd ever sold for in the neighborhood, right? So it was incredible. It was just like, this price didn't make any sense. So they got to buy at a good price, and they sold at a top fantastic price. So it was like, wow, all right, this market's starting to change. And then June, it just started to take off. Record
Yeah.
July.
Record. And then
Yeah.
here we are in December. Breaking records again.
So the problem has not been, there's more buyers interested in the properties. I think that there's been a certain group of buyers who have all come to the table at some point this year, or have been playing with the idea of moving. So they're all just kind of like working on things, working on their financing. Maybe they were collecting CERB. They had to wait for their jobs to get more stable. Financing was a very big issue middle of the year. Banks were kind of looking at people a little bit more carefully. So people have done what's necessary, added people on title to be able to get like a cosigner, gotten their job stability back, figured out what the bank is looking for to prove that they've got, the income to support the debt service and everything else that they want to get into. And what just happened was, those buyers were all still moving forward, and they still are, but we just stopped seeing people put their houses on the market.
Now, you bring up cosigners, and what I'm thinking as you're saying cosigners is, I mean, It used to be, I mean, it wouldn't be such a big deal to be a cosigner. I mean, let's just take somebody that worked as a waiter in a restaurant that's been around for 30 years. The guy's had a job there for 12, 15 years, steady income, good job, everything's beautiful, and dad or mom or father-in-law, somebody co-signed their mortgage, and now, boom, restaurants close, guys out of work, like that co-signer's on the hook, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There used to be guarantors. I'm sure there's still guarantors in some markets, but
It's
I haven't dealt with any guarantors. I don't think I've ever dealt with a guarantor. Cosigner is the person's going on title with you,
oh, okay.
right?
Oh,
So
I
they're not
thought
just
that that was the same thing. Okay.
no. So the guarantor is just kind of like in the background saying we're making sure that these payments will be made, right? And that you can come and collect from me afterwards. But the bank's like, no, no, no. I want your name on title. I want you to be one of the people who owes me the money,
Right.
not backing up the people who owe me the money.
I thought that my father-in-law co-signed my first house, but I don't remember him being on title.
He could have been a guarantor. Yeah,
Yeah, probably a
that could have
guarantor.
been that. I like I said, in the last 15 years, I don't think I've ever done one or know of one. Um, and I remember that that was a change that the mortgage guys were telling me
Now that was
had been
that was over
common.
20 years ago, so
Exactly. So
I don't know
that
if it
makes
was
sense.
different then or what the hell the story was, but yeah,
I
I'd
was
be
told that
afraid to guarantee somebody's loan now for sure, wouldn't you?
at any point in time,
Yeah.
that would be an issue for me,
But listen, I
right?
mean, that's going to be something that people are going to have to do more often, I would think. Like, it's hard for, how are these younger generations going to afford to live here without a guarantee or a
Yeah.
gift?
So I think the big one is bank of mom and dad. We've talked about that. So giving the kids money. So like the baby boomers, man, like I was just running the numbers the other day and just looking at, okay, average prices. So over the last 10 years, things have doubled, right? Over the last 20 years, and depending on the neighborhood you're in, it could be 3 to 4 times, right?
Yeah.
30 years, you could be 5 or 6 times,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you're a baby boomer and you're still living in that house that you bought in the early 90s or whatever for $250,000
Yeah.
and it's worth 1.5 now, 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
You've done well, right?
You've done pretty well if you haven't drained it over the years, I suppose, and borrowed
Sure.
against it and lived it like it was an
Not
ATM.
everybody's like that, but you're right. That's possible.
I would imagine that some people are definitely like that, but yeah, most people aren't like that. Why? I mean, I guess you'd
So
be,
that money,
yeah,
that money though, that money, that's like a huge amount of people's equity, those assets, they're massive. The difference is the generation before the baby boomers, when I'm dealing with them, they keep their house that they paid $16,000 for. Though we won't even get into the metrics of what what that generation earned on their real estate. But they keep their house and they don't really give up a lot of their equity until they pass, and
yeah,
they because their children are doing okay, the baby boomer generation, right? At least maybe 3 out of the 4 of them are. And then so when the estate goes in and we're selling the estate, the whole amount of value to that house then gets distributed amongst the estate, and whoever the will says gets their share, right? And that's when the baby boomer generation unlocks their inheritances. I think it's just going to be a little bit different now, and that people when they move, so when they go from the city and they say I'm a baby boomer, now it's my time. This is why a lot of the small towns in Ontario are getting a lot of activity. The baby boomers are going and moving outside of the city because they're like, enough is enough, right? They're going to Peterborough, they're going to Barrie, they're going to wherever, Niagara on the Lake. During that transition, they're saying, all right, I might as well keep my money in Toronto real estate. I mean, look at how well it's done for me, and I'm going to give it to my children to be able to help them finance their property, not co-sign for them. You can co-sign your own damn loan and figure out how much the bank's willing to help you with, but here's an extra amount of down payment to cover that extra cost of you buying.
right. Yeah, well, listen, people have been doing that for a long time already. I mean, it's just getting further and further out of reach. I mean, God.
It was only the top of the upper middle class that was able to do that before.
Sure.
Now it's just like the average middle class baby boomer is able to do that.
Right. Oh, right. Because of their increased equity in their house.
Yeah, and their reasons to get out of the market. Make sense?
Yeah, of course it makes sense. I just don't know how even like, yeah, I mean, there's no way in hell my kids are going to be able to afford a house or a condo in this city without any help. Like, they're going to have to make such huge salaries for so many years to save up and be able to afford everything that they're used to. It's
This is
crazy.
why there's this is why there's a lot of millennials in the stock markets. There's a lot of people who are. Seems like the millennial generation has got like some really good like they have a lot of interest in how to make money.
Yeah, and they've been given a lot of tools to be able to make money fairly easily, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, $150,000 doesn't really do much these days, right? Like wages just
You mean income?
even if you end up in your pocket with that, right? I mean, imagine
Yeah.
the salary you need to end up with 150 grand at the end of the year,
Yeah.
right? You
But
need
what I mean is like not just your income. So like for us, I think our generation in this between the baby boomers and the millennials, whatever generation you want to label people who are in their 30s and 40s right now, and maybe even 50s. Really, it was go and get a job, try to get a solid income, buy some real estate, and there's your formula for retirement. Right? If you get a good job, maybe there'll be a pension and all that kind of stuff, RSPs, and you'll be okay. Bing, bang, boom. But I think the millennials now, they're just like, whoa, that's not going to work. I can't even get into the real estate market, first of all. My income is going to be, um, you know, controlled for the next 10 years. I'm really not going to be able to have, maybe six figures or whatever their goals are to be able to get, retired and everything else too. So they're like, all right, how do I do a side hustle? Do I have stock investments? Do I look at, my YouTube channel? Like they have just so many more ideas, I think today to generate all these streams of income that weren't around when I was their age.
oh,
Like what's after millennials? What's Zennials or who's younger than that?
yeah, I don't
Who are the
know.
teenagers now?
I can't figure it out anymore. It,
Those guys. Those guys have got way more information available to them than I did.
yeah, I mean, listen, my son is 14 and he's got a YouTube channel. And listen, at the moment, it's not doing anything, but if the kid keeps doing it for the next 5 years,
Yeah.
right, just consistently, it
Yeah.
seems to me that people find like their audience, good
Yeah.
or bad, like depend like the content. I mean, there's people that will watch and listen to anything, right? That are interested in
Yeah.
anything, and lots of them. He can make a decent living, right? Just making YouTube videos if he keeps doing that for the rest of his life. If he's
Hmm.
really good at it, like some of these guys are making fortunes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And you know, the kids nowadays, they can open a Shopify store for $350 and start doing drop shipping. Like there's so many different
Side
things.
hustles. Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
not even side hustles. If you do them they're extremely profitable.
But they've got these other sources of income though, right?
Maybe it's a secondary source, maybe it's a main source. I mean, Christ, if I was 14 years old now, I would be doing YouTube, and that I would just focus on that as hard as I could for the rest of my life. Go move
So I
to an
saw this the
island
other day.
somewhere.
The top internet celebrities in the world, like the country with the most like that's like a job title is China.
Okay.
So they have what's wrong?
I'm trying to see why that's important.
Oh, because it just goes to show you. So this is the income that was generated, and I think the Chinese yuan is like 7 to 1 or something like that. But internet celebrity market, 100 billion yuan.
What does that turn into in dollars? 4
I don't know, but it's billions.
billions.
Yeah, let's call it 15. Let's call it 15 billion.
So that, what are we saying? That this is what's generated by?
That's the income that these just internet people. So it's like they have the most users, people who have YouTube channels, people have social media accounts that they're generating income from sitting at home and doing things. So I think the big thing that they were talking about is how that generation doesn't want to be tied down to a job. They don't want to be working 40 hours a week in the same place. They want to have flexibility. And so what do? You start a social media account, you start an internet company, you start whatever it is to be able to get popularized,
Yeah.
and all you're doing is regular day stuff and people are watching it all day long, and everyone's got phones, and you got a 1.7 billion person market in China, and that's like a legitimate avenue for a career.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Listen.
So you don't need to go and buy real estate. You don't need to go and settle down for that career where maybe our parents would work the same job for 30 years, or maybe our grandparents would work the same job. Our parents would work 3. Our generation would be, we're going to work 10 different jobs, but we're always going to be looking for that security. I always want to know I'm getting a paycheck. I always want to know I'm going to have, like, I feel like that's pretty common. These new young kids, they don't care at all.
No, and I
They're
don't
like,
think they care
I'm
so
living
much.
on the couch for the next 3 months. I don't care.
Yeah, and they don't care about owning a house. They really don't. They just want to live
No.
somewhere. And I've seen so many younger kids putting out videos about rent versus own. And
Yeah.
I mean, I watch them and they make sense. And there's not as big a gap as there used to be, right? There,
I have a new survey, Darryl.
if they take it, if they take like a 20, 30-year timeline and they compare two different people going down different paths, one renting and one buying, it ends up almost the same at the end.
When they know, because they learn about investing.
Well, you have to invest at a certain rate,
Yeah.
to be
They're
at par. But you can go on apps right now and buy like a tenth of a Tesla stock.
Should have bought that in 2017.
Should have bought it in 2019.
Yeah, you just had to buy it a year ago.
Uh,
So new survey here, okay? Out of all the millennials in this conversation, anybody under 30 in this conversation, how many of them feel like home ownership is a requirement? No votes. Look at that. 0. That's a great survey.
I've been saying for a long time that I don't even understand it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, if you have a chunk of equity, is it better off sitting in a house hoping that it appreciates because you don't want to pay somebody else's mortgage, or putting that into a business that can make you all the money in the world to buy whatever the heck you want to buy, house, boat, whatever?
I 100% agree with you. If that's you, there's just personality types who just don't have that in them. They need to go and work at a job with pension, with structure, and the only way they're going to build wealth is through passive real estate investment, right? And that's home ownership is going to do that for them. But what I'm saying is there's a much greater chunk of people in the younger generations who are not agreeing with that, where they're saying like, yeah, okay, I get it, and I've seen the numbers, and I know what my parents made, and I know what my grandparents made, but here, look at these numbers, look at this chart, look at this kid who invested in Tesla, and now he's a millionaire just from like a year ago. Look at this guy who has been putting his money into these to getting these type of returns, and he's renting because he's only spending $1,200 a month. Your mortgage, $1,200, is just like your property taxes, maintenance fee, right? Like, you're wasting your money there, boomer, right? And that's and they have a valid point.
Well, and listen, I mean, they have the if 20 years ago, if I owned an internet-based company and I didn't need a physical presence anywhere, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be living here anymore, right?
No way.
So
You'd be gone already.
Right, so we have this whole generation who quite honestly should and probably is smarter than ours, right?
Yep.
They're educated. They have all these resources at their fingertips. A lot of them are just kind of stuck in the same mentality, I guess, because their parents are. But a lot of them are kind of fighting that because they'll go on. Like, my kids challenge things all the time because they've seen things on TikTok or on YouTube. Like, it's a different planet. It's a different world for them. So if you are, online for your business, why the hell would you try and figure out how to buy a $1.2 million 500 square foot condo?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
that
And
would be a really nice
why?
condo location to pay that. But I know what you're saying.
No,
Yeah,
hold.
you're living in a Pacific island somewhere, like Fiji or something like that. Like you're doing it big. Like you're gonna figure it out how to get out of this rat race
Why would you want to see snow other than like on purpose for a vacation?
on TV.
No, but really, like, why would you want to live here? I don't understand it. I don't know. More and more people are gonna start just moving. Like, have you noticed? I noticed a while ago that Americans, they move around a lot, right? Like, they'll go to
100%.
school in some other state and they'll get a job in a different state and they'll be moving
100%.
all over the place. But here in Canada, I don't find that people,
More to go.
no, they're not nomads, right? But I think that's gonna start now. People are gonna start. Why not live like out west or out east? Why? I mean, look at Montreal. Montreal is the only place in Canada where the rents didn't go down. Like, why not move to Montreal and pay $800 for,
Yeah.
for a nice place in a metropolitan city? I mean, if you can handle listening to French all day.
Raise your kids in a province where post-secondary education is like nothing.
Yeah, or maybe somewhere that's not so dense that you don't have to worry about all this health stuff all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Like, so there's a major change. We haven't seen the stop in the demand yet in the market. Let's talk about what is really going on right now.
Well, I love this article here. Canadian markets are seeing a real estate boom with population declines, which is really interesting, right? So
Okay.
immigration is basically closed, right? I guess people are dying. There's a lower birth rate. So
Uh-huh.
overall, like, most of these populations are going down currently, but the prices are going up and the real estate's selling like crazy. But then
Hmm.
you have like CMHC warning that, maybe it's not going to last so long like in Bretonville or wherever the hell, right? That it's
Yep.
booming. Like we were saying last week, Durham is booming, right? And I mean,
Crazy.
is it going to continue once people start to be comfortable going out and not wearing masks again and are ready to go party and go to restaurants and, like,
I get it.
like
Yep.
not
But some of
not
the
even
demand will drop. Yeah. Some of the demand will drop. It is still going to be the most affordable part of the city, though.
well, but are
And
people
if
going to be
prices don't decline, where do people gravitate to, no matter what?
Sure,
The best prices,
sure. So,
right? And those areas are developing too. They're bringing in more transit. They're bringing in more jobs. They're bringing in more retail services.
right. So, but if the shift in behavior is solely caused by, I guess it's not. I guess it's
You're talking about
accelerated,
urban
right?
sprawl.
Yeah.
We saw that in 2017. So Durham's maybe not a good example, but I would say Barrie, Kingston.
But like all okay, so this is another thing. So this morning I'm thinking, like, maybe it's just like a cycle where, we had we had densification. What's the word? Am I speaking English? We were making things more densely populated in the core.
Yeah, densification.
Then we started urban sprawl. Then we started to densify again. And now we're going back into maybe some urban sprawl. And
Yeah.
now we're going to densify again. Like, is this just something that is going to keep
Is it
going
cyclical?
back
For
and
sure.
forth? Is it cyclical?
Yeah, for sure. So I think Durham, as one part of the conversation, is just one of those places that just has always been underdeveloped. The West End, because you're near the airport, you just have all these businesses, all these jobs, all these towers, office towers, and spaces where people are able to be working from. So it's always attracted more money. The Pickering power plant sometimes was a concern for people, so they wouldn't want to live. If they had the option of going to Mississauga or Pickering, they'd say, "Oh, I'm going to go to Mississauga because of the Pickering power plant." That's going to be shut down soon. That's going to be like a testing, like training type of facility and stuff like that without any active reactors. The airport in Pickering, they're talking about, right? That's possible. That could come to the East End, and then the jobs will come. Once the jobs come out to the East End, really the East End is underdeveloped. It's the density is lower than everywhere else, right? And that's gonna be now an opportunity for people to come out. But when we look at other places like Barrie, Kingston, Niagara, all these places, Hamilton, they're far commutes. So unless people are able to continue to work from home, that will be the change. Once that gets taken away and everyone has to go back to Toronto and go back to their offices, and the companies realize that this whole working from home thing is not going to be as successful as they were hoping because of culture and timelines and overtime and legal issues and all that kind of stuff, then yes, I agree that the demand for those outer municipalities that are just kind of far out of reach will be a lot less.
Maybe.
Prediction.
Prediction from TK. So hold on a
Yeah.
sec. So before we get into our predictions, let's just briefly discuss a couple of more predictions from other people.
Well, let's talk about what's going on in the market though, Darryl.
Well,
right now.
Which we definitely should. So hold on, let me start off with this. And then you can tell me the truth, because here, look, there
Okay,
is
I'll tell you the
little
truth.
evidence Toronto real estate is overheating. CMHC.
Yes.
And what you said to
Great
me
word for it.
yesterday was,
I agree with CMHC.
you said the market was bonkers. You sent me a text yesterday saying the market's crazy.
It has increased over the last 30 days. In some areas, you know, we could be getting into double digits. What I'm seeing right now is insane. If somebody has a property that they've been thinking about selling, get it on the market as soon as possible.
So hold on a sec. So you just told me, I just read
Yeah.
something that says that there's no evidence that the market's overheating, and you're telling
Oh, it says
me
no evidence of overheating?
there is little evidence Toronto
Oh.
real estate is overheating.
Is it CMHC?
CMHC.
Damn, we disagree again, CMHC.
Okay, that's more
I
like
thought we
it.
were on the same page for once.
I was like,
Jace.
how am I?
Jace.
Who the hell am I talking to here? Agreeing with CMHC.
I'm sorry. I misheard you.
So is it possible that CMHC, who predicted that prices would decline by 18%, knows something that we don't know?
CMHC has identified places such as Ottawa and Moncton as new pockets of overheating.
Ooh, that Moncton market must be
Moncton, watch
nuts.
out, Moncton. CMHC's got their eye on you.
Sold
let's not talk
over
about
asking
CMHC
in
today. Let's not
Moncton.
give them any more publicity. I'm telling you because I'm in the trenches and I'm looking at what offers are coming in. My deal of the week this week is a property that was a semi down in Upper Beach area. We listed it for 800,000. We had 60 plus booked showings. We had half a dozen people interested on offer night, and it sold $100,000 over asking. The same house next door sold a month ago for $863.
What?
We sold for 900. We sold for 900. Okay.
Hold on a
So
second.
it sounds like, oh, that's only $40,000 more.
You said
But the
850 and it sold for 100 over asking. In my math, that equals 950.
No, sorry. We sold for 900. We listed at 100 grand over asking. The neighbor sold for 863.
So you sold for 35,000 more than the month previous.
This exact same house,
Wow.
but theirs was renovated with a larger kitchen addition than ours. No parking. Both places have no parking. They had, so it made no sense that it would be even worth 863. When you have such recent market data, it's a little bit different because there's not as much, theorizing about the value. Or, oh, that one there, this one. It's like you got a right next door sold a month ago, and it's a better house. It's like, here you go. There's your data, right? And someone said, nope, market's hot. I'm going to pay more. So to me, they paid a far greater price than what places were selling for a month ago. Far
Yeah,
greater.
and it's not like it's like a $2 million house and somebody's like, just pay 35,000 more than the next one, right? It's like,
No.
it's on 800 or 850, whatever, 900.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the
that is
100,000 over asking isn't the
significant.
surprising part. It's just the actual number at the end of the day compared to what other was. And that was market value. Just so you know, there were several people all willing to pay this price. This is not like this one outlying buyer. This is like a group of people who all felt the same. That's what's more of a telling sign. when we sell properties and all of a sudden like this one guy's willing to spend 100 grand more than everyone else, it's like, all right, sellers kind of got, the best end of that deal, and good for them, and we move on. Now we have a group of buyers all feeling the same way. The pressure's on, Christmas is coming, I want to get in there, and we're all willing to pay this price, and we all want to get into this neighborhood at this number,
Yeah.
even though the data wouldn't support it.
Listen, it's not like, it seems to me like everything is just kind of out the window, and
Mm-hmm.
like there's no rhyme or reason. Nothing, no statistic, no fundamental stat, like nothing is going in the direction that it should be based on the reality that's happening, right? So
Durham region,
Durham,
15%. Durham, 15% as of I think they said as of the end of November. But already I'm seeing Durham is going to be year over year average price 20%. Okay, we started getting into that 20 to 30% average prices increases at the beginning of 2017. We're heading into the same type of market. And now the fuel is low interest rates. The condo market isn't taking part of the pressure off, right? So there's all these other units that the money's not going into right now, that the condo market still hasn't recovered. So all this money is now being focused directly on the freehold market, and
so
it's absolutely 100% going to be the best time to sell a property very soon. And if people miss out on this, there's going to be something that's going to happen that's going to change, and the government's already talking about it. So here's my chance to bring up the article. So this is in the Financial Post. Bank of Canada governor wants to avoid housing policy mistakes of the past. He's already talking about the changes that people have made. They're already talking about that their goal is to maintain inflation, okay, and that is their primary role, and that they
2%,
have
2%.
they have politicians who are going to be so this is Bank of Canada. They have politicians who have those knee-jerk reactions that create bubbles to burst, right? And part of their voting bloc is, of course, the population of homeowners who does not want prices to go down. So they all want to keep on pressuring their politicians to make changes, right? But at the end of the day, housing is going to be getting out of control because of Bank of Canada's policies, and they're not really focused on that at all. So the only people who can step in are people who know absolutely nothing about the financial system, unfortunately, even though that's their job, because they're thinking about issues that they shouldn't be really getting involved in, right? So when the finance minister can come in and the politicians can come in and start making all these changes and saying, well, this is what's good for our economy, because they think that that's their role as the politicians, they are the ones who create some sort of policies that allow for markets to change. And we had that already in 2017. I don't know what it is, but the knee-jerk reaction that they have had before, creating unnecessary volatility, I believe is coming again. That's my prediction. I don't know what it is. I don't know how they're going to do it. We've already got the stress test. We've already got, qualification restrictions. We've already increased now with the vacant homeland tax. They're talking about the foreign buyers tax for like a national level. We've got the one on the provincial level. I don't know what it's going to be.
You think that before we're considered recovered, they're going to throw another wrench in this thing?
I think the government is going to make some sort of policy to try to stop these freehold prices from getting out of hand. Yes.
905 land transfer tax coming
I
down
don't know
the
what it is.
pipe.
Yep. I don't know what it is, but that's what the flavor of this market seems to be having right now. That's how out of control it is. And once those numbers start to pick up January, February, March, which is what's going to happen, that's when the government's going to step in and say, like, how do we stop this? How can we let somebody, because this is what it is. It's the poor first-time home buyers who get punished the most. The ones who are taking on huge debts, the ones who are taking on huge mortgages, who don't have big down payments, who don't have a lot of job security, and they're paying $600 for a house that used to cost $4 at the beginning of 2020. They're paying $900,000 for a house that was selling for $650 in 2019.
Yeah.
The government goes, that's a problem. We need to fix that. That shouldn't be happening. This is not good. And it isn't good. It isn't good, but that's the way the market's going right now.
I don't think there's a good or bad. Like the whole thing is such a mess that it just is what it is, and you have to figure out how to play within it. The problem right now is that everything is changing so much so quickly. Like when you go down to 0.25% interest rates for 3 years while handing out money that, look, a business could take a $40,000 loan, right, interest free, pay it all back and keep $10,000. Like that's free $10,000, and even if you
Hmm.
didn't need it, you could take it, pay it back, keep 10 grand. CERB, like there's so many things. Like it's impossible for the market not to be unpredictable. Like it's going to be unpredictable for a while, and what's going to keep happening is they're going to keep throwing free money at people, cheap money at people until we're considered recovered. And yeah, you're right. I think you're right. I don't think it'll happen as soon as you think it will, but I mean that's what they do. The Bank of Canada keeps their 2% interest rate somehow. I don't know what is only going up.
Inflation,
Yeah,
target
but
inflation
no,
rate.
but I don't know what's only going up 2%. But anyways, they keep their thing, and then they rely on government to make these retarded policies to scare everybody for a bit, right? To knock the market off kilter for a little bit. And what we've seen over the last 30, 40, 50 years is that doesn't change anything. It gives like little pauses, or like the market adjusts because the prices just keep going up. It's like, okay, you're going to throw HST at us. Okay, well, the market's going up. We'll just absorb it. It ends up in the pro forma as another line. And then because the prices keep going up, it still makes sense. And that's been the cycle that keeps happening, is as long as prices keep going up, we can throw wrenches in and it'll absorb it and move on. It's like this big gelatinous monster blob that just keeps eating up all the policy and, absorbing it and moving on. That's what the market here in Toronto is, a gelatinous blob.
So I think we have different opinions. I think that you feel the housing market right now can maintain its course, and I feel like it can't.
I don't think, okay,
I'm not saying prices will go down. All I'm saying is this: the rate of price increase right now is unsustainable.
yes, but
Yeah.
we've been unsustaining this level of price increase for a very, very long time, and we keep figuring out how to manage it.
No, I disagree. What we're seeing in the last couple months, we have never sustained for a very long period of time. It's always been only a matter of months that these huge increases come in and then something changes. And my concerns are if the money is still cheap, and that's obviously part of the economy because we have two different parts here: Bank of Canada economy, politicians, government. They could be looking at housing market separately. If the economic policies still allow for people to borrow super easy and there's just massive demand for housing and no one wants the condo market, the only thing that I can possibly come up with, which is what we predicted before, is a human behavior shift where everybody all of a sudden vaccine comes in, everybody just their minds just shift towards condos are okay again.
So do you want to start with your prediction, and then I'll give my prediction for the next year?
Sure. The 2021, we're going to see crazy, crazy, crazy bidding wars in the first couple of months. And unless human behavior changes, for people are going to switch back into the condo market, realizing why are you spending $600,000 on a dump in Oshawa when you can go and get a great condo in the city and be living in a much cleaner, nicer environment, right? That unless human behavior changes to the condo market, the government will step in with politicians will step in, not the Bank of Canada, for some sort of interruption to be able to slow people down and not continue to spread the insanity in the freehold market. There you go. That's my prediction.
Excellent prediction. I think that what will happen in the next year, are we talking about the next year? Next year. Okay, so
2021, yeah.
housing, of course, is going to keep on booming, right? Rents for the first 4 to 6 months are going to keep on going down. And then once this vaccine is starting to get, out there more and more, and people start going back to normal, and immigration opens up again, and schools open up again to the foreign students, and I think it's gonna get crazy here. And I think they're gonna just the market's gonna get nuts here by the end of next year. It's gonna
Hmm.
be insane, and I don't think these politicians are stupid enough to throw a wrench in it right now. I think they're gonna do some stupid shit that's actually gonna make it even worse. Um, and then who knows what'll be the next year? But I think this thing is gonna be so super heated next year. Second half of the year, first half of the year is gonna be, same as what we're seeing right now. But I do think that they will introduce something like a 905, land transfer tax similar to Toronto, and it
Hmm.
won't have an effect at all because there's just going to be
Okay.
so much demand from everybody. Condo launches are going to go crazy again. Like everything's just going to go kaboomers.
Hmm.
That's what I
Cool.
think.
Yeah. I
And I think job growth
I
is
don't think
going
you're
to.
wrong. I think there's opportunity for everything. I think the rental part could definitely do exactly what you say, continue to drop, and until things get better, we're just not going to see
It
an
has
increase
to.
in demand from it yet.
It
Yeah.
has to. But what's really confusing to me? Like we've been seeing inventory going up like crazy, but it seems like the demand is matching it, right? Or
Rental?
outpacing. No, no, no. Overall, no. Rental's a disaster, but
Oh,
housing, like we.
no, because what you're seeing is condo numbers. So
Hmm.
freehold is dropping.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I'm looking at
Overall, you've
overall.
got
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you've got some condos, but actually the condos are actually doing pretty well. The month over month new listings dropped, and that's a good sign.
Oh, and I forgot. The
What?
absolute
The closer.
the
Mhm.
absolute saving grace for the city of Toronto, no matter what, garden suites could be coming soon to Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like all 400 of them in the next couple of years. They're going to save everything. This is big news.
Yeah, just like the laneway houses.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Just it's got a different package now.
Well, they what happened when they did the laneway housing is they forgot about coach houses and garden houses and all these other type of suites. Like
Mhm.
they kind of just skipped over those. They were thinking, I guess somebody was only thinking about laneway housing, and they forgot, and they said, well, geez, well, what about the same type of situation, which is masked under creating more supply? We could just have the same principles applied, and as long as we're meeting certain building codes and everything else too, and ways for people to be saved for fire, and you're not disturbing people's enjoyment of their own properties. So different districts, especially in some of the, like, Etobicoke, Scarborough's, North York, like places with the bigger lots, there's lots of room for those things.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Well,
Well,
this has been a great episode today, Daryl.
yes, it has. I agree with you. Hopefully, everyone else does too.
And we never even asked them to subscribe, not even once. Damn it.
No, and you know what? Not very many people did last week either. So,
I think that video was a slow one. That video is just a slow one. It's a slow week in real estate on the internet, on the YouTube,
on the interweb.
on the intertube.
Speaking of the intertube, I have an
Yes.
article here that says these 6 tech tools could shake up real estate deal making post COVID.
Let's talk about it next week.
Let's talk about it next week. Mr.
I gotta
TK,
I gotta run. So I'll
you run. I have somebody at my door,
okay.
apparently,
We'll
so
chat later.
I will talk
Thanks for
to you
having me
soon.
on today.
No, thank you.
All right. Bye.